deployed in 8 different platforms, including civil aircraft as well as military aircraft. But in each one of them, you have a throttle under your arm, under your hand. We don't have a gas pedal, so we have a throttle, and then you have a control surface or control stick that you are controlling the control surfaces. And you have the ability to be able to maneuver in this 3D, airspace to move like a bird, freely, however you want. But in each one of them, you feel a seat underneath you, and your foot is touching somewhere. It's an amazing feeling to get to this, place and touching somewhere, giving yourself a momentum, and being able to fly freely with your own wings. That was an amazing feeling.
We've got time for maybe 2 more questions, very quick questions. So we'll go to the individual and near the back. Yep, yourself. We'll get the mic to yourself. And then is there anyone on this side? Yep, then right at the back there, we'll go to yourself. We'll spread it out.
Sorry, this is maybe a bit of a big question, but what have you learned about yourself and humanity from having been in space?
So you have that. What did you learn about yourself from space?
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of astronauts who are trying to define their feelings, emotions, and thoughts based on their experience over there. Honestly, in terms of psychological change or stability and so on, I was pretty firm in my mind and in my feelings, how I was going to feel like. Culturally, we are being raised pretty tough in terms of feelings. We know we are aware of our responsibilities, and we have really strong emotional ties with our environment. So we were quite aware of what we were going to execute, carry out over there. I was in a mission, a quite solid mission, what I was supposed to do, and I took it as a mission, like on top of all these military missions that I have been carrying out so far. I definitely gained more experience because even though we have learned a lot from the experiences of all these astronauts who have been there up until so far, and based on what I have been talking or writing in their notes or in their memories, we have learned a lot. But learning all these with your own observations was the biggest key.
Right, we'll go to the corner, and I know you've got the mic, so we'll let you come in too, Richard. So go to the corner first.
Hi there, thanks. I was just wondering how much personal stuff you're allowed to bring with you up in space, and what was the most important things that you brought with you that mattered the most to you?
That is also a very specific issue. You are allowed to take up only 1.5 kilograms of payload.
Oh.
And as I was doing this mission for my country, our space agency and the research institute was already using 1 kilogram of that. So I was allowed I was allowed to take up only half a kilogram weight of payload. And in order to be able to do that in a very limited amount of space, first you need to learn how to fold. So they are giving you a lot of lessons on that, how to fold things neatly, precisely, and how to fit them in. You are basically learning how to convince a little box how to fit that in it. So it was good. But the most memorable things that I took up there was first I have a little nephew. I took his photos. I took the flight pages of my very first F-16 squadron, and I'm coming from a nomad culture in Turkey, so I took the little items that belong to the nomad culture up into the space. So they call me the furthest walking nomad ever.
Right, no pressure, you have the last question of the evening.
Amazing. I wondered if you have a favourite space science writer, whether fiction or non-fiction, who you think best kind of captures the wonder and the beauty of space and being in space.
Like space science and the experiments related to the new materials was quite tempting. Did I understand the question correctly?
Sorry, I've missed.
So is it, the question is there a favourite space science writer, science fiction writer, fiction or non-fiction?
Or non-fiction, yeah.
Who caught?
I caught it.
Yeah.
So Chris Hadfield,
Is that
not only fiction writer, but he's a writer in the space field, coming from an astronaut background. It has been very beneficial for me, and by chance, after completing the whole mission, I met him in an astronaut chapter in Houston just last December. And when I told him that I really benefited a lot from your memoirs, I could read one of his books in a limited amount of time, where I was deciding if I really want to apply to the astronaut selection phase. But after being selected, I read all of his books until the execution of the mission, and that was very beneficial for me.
And Chris, if you're listening, we'd love to have you next year. Right, we're going to wrap up or something. We're going to wrap up, but before we wrap up, the tagline of this year's festival was "Live like an astronaut." And I just thought many of us who have not been astronauts, so we can only read of what that means. But for someone who has been an astronaut, what does that mean to you to live like an astronaut?
In order to answer that, I have to actually refer to a really good team that you came up with this year. Edinburgh Science Festival's 2025 team is a spaceship Earth. And that is a concept giving us the chance, offering us exploration of sustainability. And sustainability is the work of living like an astronaut and being in space, because that's where you get to realize nothing is infinite. You get to realize nothing is for granted, that we are not even aware while we are here on Earth. We see the law of the water without stopping in the nature. We take for granted. Think about this amazing winds that you love here in Edinburgh.
It's not so amazing
Yes.
for us, but
You take it for granted. You get to realize when you reach out to the space, when there is no atmosphere, you don't even get any wind. You don't have this luxury of flowing, water. So, returning back to Earth, you realize that we have to be aware of everything that we take granted on Earth as being finite. And you get to the point that everything that you have in your hands here, we have to just be careful and quite considerate about how to conserve it. Not for us only, or to be able to hand it over to our next generations.
Thank you. And I think that's a beautiful way to end the evening. On the basis of Edinburgh Science Festival was founded on the principle of making people realise that science is a tool in which we can pass on solutions and creative ways in which we can solve the global challenges to the next generation. We've been doing this for 35 years, and we hope to be doing it furthermore. But that can only be done with the generous support of our audiences, of our sponsors, and of yourself over time. So folks, can you please give a massive round of applause to our...
Before closing, I would like to really thank you for your great hospitality as the Edinburgh Science Festival committee over here. Also, I would like to express gratitude for all the way from the beginning since last June, who has been putting a lot of great effort, even though she has faced with a lot of obstacles and difficulties so far. We have our Deputy Consul General here, Ms. Kaya-Oğlu, who has really tremendous amount of effort and really wisdom over here to make this happen. Also, I would like to thank my family, Turkish Airlines. So, thanks a lot for joining us.